Hey y'all, welcome to a Prophetess Life, where you get to see my everyday living while serving the kingdom of God. Now, today is April 10th of 2026, and it is the very last day for Passover, so I decided to do a celebration on my last day. Happy Passover. As you can see, I have my tilapia fish here, and I'm going to be frying some fish along with making some lamb to celebrate Passover. These are some of the biblical um, ingredients and things that were in the Passover feast, so I chose to get these selections. I also got some kale for my bitter herbs, and I also decided to make a sweet potato loaf. Which, fun fact is, my kids ate every sweet potato, so I had to make a sweet potato loaf instead. So you see my all-purpose flour here, my rosemary here for the lamb chops, my raisins for my potato loaf bread, and I've got my crackers here for my unleavened bread. For my cake or my loaf, I have my whipping cream and my extra virgin olive oil. For my seasonings, I have my kosher salt, I have Himalayan pink salt, I have my black pepper, and I also have my garlic. And I wind up using another seasoning in the end for my lamb, which wound up being like, I believe it was like a brown sugar seasoning. So I wound up throwing in there. I also got my butter because that's going to go on top of the lamb and on top of the sweet potato loaf. So as you can see me here, the first step for me to start my lamb was just to open it up. And I had a really kind of hard time opening it up. My knife was dull, so it was a little taxing. Next year, I definitely want to have more utensils. Like, I didn't have a lot of things that I needed, and so I had to make do. I'm in the process of moving too, so like, it was as if I threw everything away. So I had to use this pot. I didn't have the pot that I needed. I had gone on Walmart and ordered a pan. I ordered the pans for my loaf. I ordered the pans for it to hold everything, and the pans wound up coming in like a really small size. So I had to wind up using the pans and pots that I had, but we'll make do. I mean, I did my very best. Honestly, the heart of it was to serve God and reverence Him for what He did as the Passover lamb. But as you can see, I've taken my lamb out. I'm going to clean my lamb. This wasn't an added ingredient, but I did decide to clean my lamb with some fresh lime because whenever you take the meat out of the package, it's just a lot of blood and it has that kind of gamey feel. So I just decided to clean it and get that blood smell out. So I just used fresh lime and water to clean off my lamb rack. I have two racks, as you can see. I got these at Costco's. They were about $16 per rack, which I don't think is too bad. Um, but yeah, I'm here cleaning off my lamb. I just kind of flipped it a couple of times. And to be honest, I'm enjoying myself. I like cooking. I like cooking. I enjoy cooking. It can be a little bit tedious as far as like, the process, but it's worth it. So I'm about to go ahead and start seasoning my lambs. I have my extra virgin olive oil that I decided to put on top of my lambs to just give it a good texture so that my lambs come out soft and not too tough. So I just coated both sides of my lamb with olive oil. I'm going to go ahead and start out on my first side with my pink Himalayan salt. You just season to taste, and I want to make sure that I seasoned it well. So I picked up the other lamb to make sure I was able to get under the other lamb so that it both sides can be seasoned properly. Now I'm adding my black pepper. Now I don't believe in using a whole lot of black pepper because the taste is very strong, but you just want to use enough to make sure that it gets in there. Now you see my fresh garlic that I'm going to be cutting up. You can't go wrong with garlic. You can't go wrong. I've seasoned everything I cook with garlic. I am a garlic head. It actually has good medicinal properties. So, whether you eat fresh garlic or whether you bake it, it's good for you. It's good for your immune system. So, if you're not cooking with garlic, try to use more fresh garlic to season your foods. It's very good for your immune system. And so, here I am cutting it up. I think I did about 1.5 bulbs of garlic. I didn't do too much this time, um, just because it wasn't a lot of meat, but I did do enough to make sure that the lamb is well seasoned. And so I'm so excited. I'm sitting here and I'm cooking and I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing how everything is going to turn out. I'm looking forward to tasting the food. I have never had lamb before, so this will be my very first time having lamb, and it's so excited that my first time eating lamb, I get to make it myself. So here I am going ahead and coating that second side, the opposite side of the lamb, and I'm reseasoning as well. So whenever you cook, for those of you who aren't familiar with cooking, you want to make sure that you season both sides. Whatever you did on the first side, do it on the second side as well, so it can taste evenly. And yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I get that oil in there. I'm gonna make sure that it's seasoned well. Nobody wants any unseasoned food. I didn't do a whole lot of Himalayan salt, but I made sure that it was, enough season to taste. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go in, after I'm done with this, flipping it over, getting it well seasoned. I decided to evenly lay the lamb in there so that it can cook properly. This pot was getting on my nerves because it wasn't very big and it wasn't the pot that I wanted, but I had to make do. And so now here is the extra season I was telling you about, which is the brown sugar. I just happened to sporadically go ahead and throw that in there. I wasn't going to originally, but why not? Give it some extra flavor. And it's brown sugar scrub. It's a brown sugar seasoning. Sometimes it's just good to play with things. Do extra taste, do different tastes, do something than you usually do. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add my fresh rosemary. Now, as I'm peeling off the fresh rosemary, I'm just taking off the little parts that are sticking out. I don't put the whole stick in there. You can if you want, but I personally don't. I kind of want to spread out the pieces of rosemary because I'm going to come in here and put a little bit of water on the sides, after I'm done with this, so that the fresh garlic can begin to infuse with the water and it can soak up into the lamb. Now you see me here with my water. As I said, it's just going to go on the side so that the lamb doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot and it doesn't cook, and become burnt. That's how you keep your meat tender. And to just finish this, I'm going to add a little bit more rosemary, and then I'm going to wind up going and adding a little bit of kosher salt on the side. Yeah, you see I have my kosher salt. So I'm just going to add a couple of sprinkles of that on the side where the water is so that the water can also be seasoned, because water and salt eventually it will absorb, and as the seasoning sits in the bottom of the pot, it'll soak up. So as you can see, I have my oven on 350 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the oven. I wound up putting it on the bottom rack just because the other racks were too close. So I put it at the very bottom of my oven, and it sat there for about, I'm gonna say, maybe 2 hours. I cooked it about two, maybe 1.5, 2 hours. So it's gonna sit there for that time frame. And while I'm waiting for my lamb to cook, I'm gonna go ahead and beginning to work on the rest of my items. Now, sorry about my oven. I need to clean my oven out, but hey, it is what it is. Now I'm going to work on my fried fish. So this is tilapia. I'm going to first start cutting off the head. And for myself, I saved the fish heads because as I was cutting, I saw that there was still a lot of meat on the fish head. And I decided to keep the fish heads. I know people, my husband is African, and kind of growing up around the African community and the African culture, when my aunt, who was married to her husband who was from Guinea, she used to keep the fish heads and put the fish heads inside of the sauce, and we would eat the fish heads. There's still meat on the fish heads, so it didn't make any sense to waste the fish heads. I was sure I could use it for something in some kind of way. So I decided to keep the fish heads for another meal. And so that's why I'm just cutting off the heads. I'm going to cut off the heads on every piece of fish. I'm not going to fry them whole. They're going to wind up going in my handy dandy Ziploc bag, and they're going to get frozen. So as you can see me now, I'm putting the head inside of the Ziploc bag and it can get frozen. And as you can see, look inside, you can kind of still see that fish that fish meat inside the head. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that for the second piece. The same thing that I did with the first piece. It was a little difficult cutting through the fish because I didn't have a good utensil. I did not have a sharp knife. So I will be investing in some Pyrex, some better cookware, some better pans and pots. And I'm also going to get me a couple cast iron pots and pans. I'm in the process of moving, so right now I've been just kind of throwing things away. The pot set that I got when I first moved here a year ago, it didn't last. And so that's the pot you see me using today. But it didn't last. It said it was stainless steel, but it was not a good set at all. So I'm going to have to invest in some better cookware. But as you can see, this one's gonna go inside of as you can see, the fish that used to swim is no longer swimming anymore. But I'm pretending it's swimming because that's what fish do, they swim. But yeah, I'm going ahead and I'm cutting off my third piece. And then I'll do the same with the fourth piece. Oh, and I forgot to add, I guess you could say I saved the best for last. The worship that you hear in the background is my lovely husband. It's called Nothing Without You. It's one of his newest releases. My husband is a pastor, but he's also a psalmist and a wonderful, intelligent genius of a composer. He writes, he sings, he composes, he plays about 8 different instruments. And so this is his new release, and I'm so excited to hear the new sounds that come forth out of my husband. Husband, I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. And I probably don't tell you enough, but I love your worship, and I'm one of your biggest secret fans. I know a lot of times I don't celebrate you openly, but I watch you in secret, and I really admire your passion for music and for sound and for the things of God. So I hope today when you watch this, you know how much I love you. And I'm so glad that you're in my life. So I'm currently cutting my fourth and last piece of fish. This is the part that I hate about cooking. Eating is fun, but the time process is so consuming. It's just so much work that goes into it. And I almost cut my darn finger because the fish was so slimy that it kept slipping out of my hands. And so I was having quite a time trying to cut the fish head off. But I wanted to say something. Costco gets my seal of approval because as I was cutting this fish, they were all clean on the inside. There was no food. There was no inside. There was no. I had to stop and kiss the fish real quick before it goes in my belly. My daughter said people are gonna think I'm a witch because I'm keeping the fish head. But it was so clean on the inside, and so I was happy about that because that really eliminated a lot of time that I would have had to put into cleaning the inside of the fish out. So as you can see, I have my 4 pieces of fish that are cut. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut those pieces of fish on the inside to flatten that fish out so that I can cook better. I'm going to do that for all 4 pieces.
Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Does anybody in here ready for fresh fire of transformation tonight? Come on, lift your hands. Sing. Nothing without you. 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 Nothing without somebody be saying nothing. I can do without you, love. Nothing without you. My heart, my mind, my soul belong to you. Nothing without, nothing without you. I can live without you. I can move without you, and I can even breathe without you. I surrender. I surrender to you, oh God. I surrender my heart to you. Make me my heart, my soul, my soul to you, oh God. I surrender all. Transform my mind,
Okay, so now I am just finishing up cutting my fourth and last piece of fish. Before I go and clean it, I am going to sprinkle a little bit of pink Himalayan salt on the fish and throw that inside my wok to clean it. So I am going to be using the pink Himalayan salt, a little bit of fresh lime juice. I'm also going to add kosher salt and just some water to clean my fish off. And as you can see, I have my Morton's kosher salt. Salt is a good preservative and it's a good way to not only season, but it's a cleansing aid for food as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour my water in there and I'm just mixing the salt up a little bit with it and I'm going to put it over my fish and clean my fish off a little bit. It's just good to get some of that excess blood off before cooking. It feels better, it seasons better to me. It just feels better overall. You see all that blood and that gook on there. Just I like to clean it off and get all that off. I mean, I don't always clean off my fish, but sometimes I do. In this case, I did. There was a lot of blood. And the fish is so fresh, so I just decided to clean it off. So yeah, we're cleaning this fish off. Okay, so now I'm about to go in and season my fish up on my plate that I cleaned off and rinsed off with some water. I'm going to start out with my pink Himalayan salt. And this is just going to be a quick lesson because I know some people don't know how to cook well. Whenever you make your fish or whenever you season your fish, you make sure you season on the top, the bottom, and on the inside of the fish. That's how the fish is well seasoned. You don't just season the top and bottom and forget the inside. Otherwise, your fish is going to be bland. Make sure you season every part of that fish. Now I'm going in with my black pepper and I'm doing the same thing that I did with the pink Himalayan salt. I'm seasoning the top, the bottom, and the inside. Okay, so for my last seasoning, I'm going to season with some Old Bay. I'm going to do the same exact thing I did with my pink Himalayan salt and my pepper. I'm just going to season the top, the bottom, the inside, and I'm going to then dip it in some flour. I also chose to put a little bit of Old Bay in the flour because that just adds a little bit of extra seasoning. I also put the Himalayan salt in there as well. It just gives it a little extra flavor. Wherever you didn't get all the seasoning on the meat, adding it in your flour, make sure it's definitely seasoned. So now I'm going to go ahead and put that fish inside that bag. But the fish was a little bit too big, so I had to wind up taking the flour and just putting it on top of the fish because it was just not big enough. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in with some heavy whipping cream and just put it on the side just to give it a little thicker batter and to make some of that flour stick on the fish. It's not really to coat everything, but it just helps the seasoning and the flour stick better.
Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Does anybody in here ready for fresh fire of transformation tonight? Come on, lift your hands. Nothing without you. 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 Nothing without somebody been saying nothing.
Okay, so now that I'm done coating my fish with flour, I'm gonna put some extra virgin olive oil in my wok that I washed out. I'm gonna go ahead and put about 1/3 of that inside my wok, and then I'm gonna add some vegetable oil in my wok, and mix that in there with the extra virgin olive oil. I'm not gonna fill it all the way up. I'm just gonna go ahead and empty my whole jar because I didn't have a lot of oil. And I'm also gonna take out my lamb out of the oven. So the lamb isn't quite done yet, but I'm gonna stick some holes in there just so that more heat can get inside of the lamb. And get some of that blood out. As you can see, you probably see that blood coming out of the lamb right there. Yeah, I see it. And then I am going to get a bowl and I'm going to take some of that juice that's in the bottom of the lamb and pour it in the bowl, and I'm going to wind up using that herb. You see that rosemary and that oil and those seasonings that are in the bottom? I'm going to wind up putting that on top of the lamb to give it some extra seasoning and moisten. And I'm going to do that twice. So here's my second time around. I'm going to recoat it, yeah, twice. This is how you make sure that your lamb is well seasoned and tender. And I'm going to put it back in the oven for about another hour or 45 minutes. Next, I have my sweet potato. Since my kids ate all my other three, I'm only able to use this one sweet potato, but I'm going to take it and make a sweet potato loaf. So now I'm going to put that inside this pot of water, and I'm going to boil the sweet potato until it gets soft. So I'm going to turn that heat on about low to medium, and I'm going to wait for that sweet potato to boil and get softened. Now I have my top on my wok because I'm waiting for the heat to heat up and get hot enough. And I'm wiping down my stove because when you're cooking, the area can get so filthy quickly. So I'm just kind of trying to straighten up a little bit and wipe that down. But of course, I'm going to have to clean up a little bit later as well. So I'm waiting for my oil to get hot. It's starting to get that feeling, and I'm going to throw some garlic in there to kind of infuse the garlic inside of the oil since I didn't have garlic to put on my fish. I want to create some garlic infused oil, and that's why I put it inside the oil. So we're going to let that simmer for a little while, and then we're going to go ahead and throw our fish inside. Maybe it's just me, but am I the only one that loves the sound of the fish frying and sizzling in the oil? It's literally like a fish fry ASMR. So now I have my pure vanilla extract, my pecans, and I have that to the side because I'm going to go and put those ingredients inside of my potato loaf. So now I'm just kind of flipping over my fish. My first two pieces of fish are almost done. They're about to come out, but I like to double flip them after I do the initial fry because sometimes it's just still not cooked a little bit. So I like to make sure that it's cooked. But now I'm about to go ahead and take this fish out and put the second batch in. So now I'm about to check on my sweet potato. I put the top on there because it was taking a while to cook, but as you can see, the knife is starting to go in there, so it's pretty much ready. And I'm gonna go ahead and take it out now and peel it. And I'm just gonna peel it and rinse it off a little bit, get any residue off. I like to rinse it twice. And I'm gonna go ahead and start mashing it. Yeah, so I can make my sweet potato loaf. So while I'm mashing it, I'm gonna do my best to mash it. Like I said, I definitely need to get some more utensils to help me bake and cook better. And I'm gonna put some cinnamon in there. I love cinnamon, so I like to put a lot in there. I'm going to add some pure vanilla extract. I think I put a little too much in there, but that was okay. And I'm going to add some heavy whipping cream. I added one egg to start with, but I wind up coming back and adding a second egg. So that's my first egg, and this is my second egg. We're gonna put that in there. I'm gonna mix up the sweet potato and try to mash it as much as I can to have a smooth consistency. But it was a little chunky. There was a little bit of chunks that wouldn't come out. So I tried to mix it to the best of my ability. And then I put some all purpose flour in there to mix with my loaf. So I mixed in all the flour that I had. I didn't have a whole lot. And then to give it an extra little bit of flavor, I decided to go in and add some Nido and some water, which is the powdered milk. And I mixed it together, and I put that inside, and I decided to add pecans. No, after I get all my pecans in, I'm going to add some granulated sugar in there for some sweetness. I don't want it too sweet, but I did add it in there to taste so that it could have some type of sweetness in there. And I'm going to go ahead and mix it. It was a little bit of soupy. I felt like maybe I could have used a little more flour, but that's all. It's fine. So I'm mixing it. I'm stirring it. I'm going to wind up adding some more pecans in there later just to try to thicken up the looseness of the batter. So now I'm gonna turn my stove on low because I have some small loaf pans here, and I'm gonna melt a little bit of butter on top of the stove, even though I probably shouldn't be doing this. But if you just watch a little bit further on, I'm gonna put my butter in there, and it's gonna melt. Sorry, not loaf. It's gonna melt, and I'm going to just, if you notice how at first it started out on top of the stove, but I'm going to wind up lifting the pan so that it's not sitting directly on top of the stove. I want my butter to melt because I'm going to use that to put inside of my loaf. Yeah, so when I got done, I had about 2 loaves of bread, and I'm taking my lamb out now because it is ready. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing I did earlier after I wiped down my stove. I'm gonna get some more of that oil and seasoning from the bottom of the lamb and coat the top of my lamb. And excuse me, y'all, I know you heard my screaming grandbaby in the background and my kids messing with her. Okay, y'all. So now the most important ingredients for my feast are done. Now I'm gonna go inside my living room and set up my area to sit down and eat and fellowship with the Holy Spirit. So now that I've got my table put up, I want to show you where I got my table set up from. I got it from Amazon. Just a cute little Passover table set up that symbolizes the Red Sea parting. And I got it, I think it was about $10. So now I'm about to go ahead and put together my table setup for my lovely Passover celebration. Enjoy.
Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Does anybody in here ready for fresh fire of transformation tonight? Come on, lift your hands. Sing. Nothing without you. Nothing without you. Nothing without you.
So now I'm just putting my dish down on my table. This is where I will be setting my plating. I'm pretty intentional about everything I do, which is why I tried to put the cross in my lamb to symbolize Jesus Christ, the lamb who was slain, the Passover lamb. So now I have my bitter herbs and my boiled egg, and I have my sweet potato cake, and I have my fish. Last, I have my Kadem 100% grape juice, which I will be drinking with my meal, and I will be taking communion along with my unleavened bread crackers. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour my juice now for my communion. So by this point, everybody was sleeping. It was just me. But I decided to light a couple candles and to add my white roses that I bought last week that are actually on their way out. But I figured why not add them. But this was just really a moment for me to rest with God and to focus on what He did for us. Not just with the sacrificial Passover lamb, but ultimately through the Son Jesus Christ. The sacrificial lamb represents Christ, who is the lamb who was slain. And so, yes, the Israelites were free from captivity from the Egyptians, but also it's a much bigger picture to be relayed that through Christ we have freedom. We have freedom from every sickness, every plague, death. There's so many things that are available to us through Christ. And so as you can see now, I'm even anointing my food And I just began to declare some things over my food as I ate. That, Lord, I thank you, Lord, that as you parted the Red Sea, as you set your people free, and as you gave your Son Jesus Christ for all the earth, for all humanity, so I am free. The scripture says, he who the Son sets free is free indeed. That is John 8:36. All in all, this was a good turnout. As you can see, I'm eating my lamb and all my different other food selections. It was a little bit of warfare, to be totally honest. I do believe the enemy was trying to fight me in getting the celebration done. I didn't even get a chance to start eating till 11:30, but I was so thankful
Romans chapter
that I
12,
was
verse
at
2.
least able
Do
to
not be
give God
conformed
those
to the
last
pattern
30
of this
minutes.
world, but be
And
transformed
I
by the
just set in
renewing
my
of your
mind
mind. Does
that
anybody in
next
here ready for
Passover, I
fresh
will be
fire?
more
Fresh
intentional.
fire.
I'll
Come on,
do
let's
more.
go.
I'll cook more. I'll
Nothing
do better. It'll be
without
more
you.
extravagant because
Nothing without
Christ
you.
is worthy to be
Nothing
praised. He's
without you.
worthy to be acknowledged
Nothing
for
without
everything that he
you.
did for
Nothing
us.
without you.
Exodus
Nothing
12:21
without you.
tells the Israelites to go and find a Passover lamb to slain. But in First Corinthians 5:7, it says, Christ, our Passover lamb, has been sacrificed, meaning that Christ was the end of all sacrifice. He's the sacrificial lamb.